Off.
Hey, Mr. Zendejas.
How you doing, sir?
Off with some coffee in the morning.
Cheers.
Cheers, sir. Virtual cheers.
You got some cream and sugar in there?
Just cream.
You gotta go black.
Little
Get in
splash.
there soon. Yeah, man, but I know this weekend I had a idea about talking what to do with your money. Well, sorry, not what to do with your money, but why to invest. I think a lot of people have kind of came across the idea of, starting to invest. So I don't know if you wanted to kick us off or you wanted me to start off or how do you want to begin this topic?
Yeah, let's go ahead and kick. I'll go ahead and get it started. So today, this morning, what we're talking about is financial literacy. We're breaking it down to the importance of budgeting, saving, investing, and really understanding good and bad debt. We can always tie back to the book, as I mentioned previously, Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? It kind of goes back to the basics on how to manage money, how, assets, liabilities, things like that. But today, pretty much what we're going to speak about is an intro to what is financial literacy and what exactly you should be doing, our beliefs, what we believe you should be doing with any money that comes in from your 9 to 5 or business or anything like that. So, let's go ahead and just get started more so on the why. Why is it even important to keep an eye on money, manage it properly, and stay out of bad debt?
Yeah, so I can like I mentioned in the previous kind of podcast video, whatever you like to call it is, I like to break things down like very, very simply to the core, right? So we all started on this earth and then when we turned a certain age, we're like, okay, let's get a job. We need money, right? And then people end up trading their entire lives for this paper, this dollar, and people don't understand what it is. Like I encourage you to take time out of your life to study what it is that you're chasing and what it is that you're pursuing, which is the US dollar for many people. So what it is to me, and based on what I studied, is it's nothing but purchasing power, right? And what I mean by that is it gives you the opportunity to purchase, it gives you the opportunity to have power, right? I don't know if you guys have ever heard, or Adan, if you've ever heard somebody say money is energy, right? Well, energy as in power, right? So it gives you the ability to do things that other people might not have. So the more money you have, the more purchasing power you have. So the dollar amount, the number, we need to get away from that and actually look at what power it can provide us as far as purchasing, right? So with that being said, I think that when we first get started, we have a certain amount of money that we're making. We trade our time for money, and that money gives us the lifestyle that we have, right? But there's often times where people increase their lifestyle as their money starts to increase, but their purchasing power kind of pretty much stays around the same thing, right? Because, they go into debt or whatever the case might look like for each and every one. But one thing that I want to, kind of emphasize is in order for you to actually move in the right direction to increase your lifestyle, you need to increase your purchasing power. So we already talked about increasing your income with your skill set, but now it comes to the next portion of the talk where it's now you've learned to make money or now you're creating money, but how can you protect it? How can you, more importantly, grow it, right? Not just sustain it and maintain it, but grow it eventually so that your efforts can duplicate and continuously grow in the industry of finance. So I'd love to open up with that.
Nice, nice. To follow and add to that, it comes down to the actual budgeting, right? You have to know once you're making that 9 to 5 business income, whatever type of purchasing power, as you mentioned, whatever comes in, you should know exactly what every dollar is doing, right? You've heard the saying where assign every dollar is like a soldier, assign it a job, assign it somewhere. Don't just have it sitting in a savings account, in Wells Fargo or Chase or whatever, earning very minor interest on that money. It it's assigning it each a job to do, right? Whether that's an emergency fund, whether that's investing it, whether that's, working on bringing down your debt. I think that's one of the most important things after you get to step one, where it's obviously working on increasing your income, right? Um, with budgeting, I think comes down, like just like you said, instead of having a lifestyle inflation, which is the more money you make, the more money you spend, I think it's being able to keep your expenses at that same level while still being able to raise the bar on your income. I tell everybody this. This is where it really gets fun. It gets really fun being able to do that because, for example, prior to me moving out, prior to you moving out, we had, just to share like a personal experience, we were blessed to be paying very low expenses with our parents, right? They blessed us completely, and we took advantage of that to help our future selves, right? During those times, we did not go out and spend on things that we knew we couldn't afford. Rather, we put the money to invest. We put our emergency funds, we increased our emergency funds, and we really focused on what every dollar did, you know? Of course, we had our minimal expenses, phone bill, insurance, gas, light bill, minor stuff like that. But again, depending on how much you make to how much you're spending, this space right here is a fun spot, right? Once you have these extra dollars that you can leverage and use to your advantage, I think that's where it gets really exciting to be able to either one, multiply your money or really preserve it, like you said, right? How do we keep it? How do we hold on to it so when the day comes, something comes up, unfortunately, things happen, you have that cash to move around accounts and pay this and pay that, It's it, it's really taking control of the money that's coming in, being able to manage it properly so that way you're not working for the money. That way the money's working for you in a sense. And nobody's going to do that for you. I feel like we jump back to our back when we were in school. Nobody teaches you that. It's something that you just, unfortunately, either your family, your parents, YouTube, you have to go out of your way to really learn this because I'll tell you what, I mean, over the few years that we've, again, we've are 100,000% blessed from our parents to be able to do all of this. Actually, back in 2021, my mom hired a financial coach for me. It was close to the time, bro, when we were like doing our surveying, right? We had our tips and everything. And at the time, with no bills and no rent, we had some decent amount of cash flowing in, right? So my mom did actually charge us rent, I would want to say for like a year, for me, like a year and a half.
Yeah, I moved out as soon as I turned 18, so I didn't get to that point, but I know you paid rent for a good amount of time.
You're right. You're right. I'm glad you brought that up. So you learned it way earlier. That money has to come out and pay rent and pay your bills and all that stuff, right? For me, I was paying a X amount a month. So my mom started to see like, wow, he's paying his rent, but he still has some excess, like excess little change around there, just spending on random stuff. Because I mean, I love to spend going out, eating out, whatever, and I think that's all part of your youth, right? You want to enjoy all that stuff. And then she said, wow, like I think this financial coach that I hired, because she did hire her for me. She was from Texas, Yasmin, I think her name is. And I started to learn the budgeting. That's when I had the spreadsheet going on, figuring out how much is coming in, how much is going out. And that's really where it shifted for me because I started to see the value in preserving your money and growing it and managing it, taking full control of that money that's coming in. And at that time, that's when my mom actually canceled my rent in order for me to maximize my investments to then, today, thank God for her and, my dad, it's been very rewarding to just put money away, save it, invest it, and all because the budget sheet, knowing what's coming in, knowing what's going out, right? So go ahead and
Yeah.
You want to kind of speak a little more about that?
Yeah, so I want to start off with saying people might think like, why are you so in love with money? Why are you saving? Like we might die tomorrow. And I don't think Alan is saying to kind of give up the life that you want. It just put kind of common sense behind it. If you're gonna enjoy yourself, budget money for fun, budget money for luxuries or whatever, leisure, whatever you want to do, budget it. It's not just sporadic. You want to go out. Oh, like if I'm going to go out, I know how much money I'm going to spend. If I were going out and I tell Adan, hey, we're going here, I know exactly how much I've set aside for this certain occasion. And the reason why I think everybody should get good with their money is because whatever you don't transform, you will transfer. So if you don't transform your own finances and create power behind your financial literacy and financial income, which is your purchasing power, you're eventually going to transfer that to your next generation, which might be your kids, your nieces, whatever it is. And eventually they're going to trade their entire lives for money. That is not a bad thing. If you love what you do, that's fantastic. But the idea behind investing, why do you invest? Well, because our US dollar, our purchasing power is there's inflation. So every year it's losing power. What I mean by that, just in very simple terms, let's say our great grandfather created $10,000. He worked his entire life to develop this money. He said, finally, I've made so much money so the rest of my generation can relax and doesn't have to kill themselves for money any longer. Well, if he buried that money in the back of his yard and I grabbed that $10,000 today, don't get me wrong, that's a good amount of money, but that will do nothing for me today. That will not create any type of massive money. Like I will still have to work. That money doesn't cannot go as far as it did back then because the purchasing power has decreased along the years. So the point of creating an investments in things is to eventually grow your efforts. Because if you're just working and working and working and you're just putting the money in your bank, well, you might have the same amount of number in your bank account, but that number is actually decreasing in purchasing power. So even though you might not have lost the number, but you might have lost what it could do for you. And I think we can all say when we go to grocery shopping, we have to spend a lot more money than we did back then to get the same amount of stuff. So that's kind of the idea of why it is to invest. It's not because we're fanatical about money. It's not because, oh my God, we want more money. It's just be smart with the time and energy that you're transferring into purchasing power. Will grow it, sustain it, like learn how to manage it. So that's the small point that I wanted to touch on that. And really quickly, like what Alan's saying as far as budgeting and everything, one of the greatest sayings that I've heard is if you don't manage your money, if you don't take care of your money, well, your money is just pretty much going to leave you. Like you, energy or money is energy, and you need to respect it. If you're somebody who grabs your dollars and you crumbles it and you put it in your pocket, psychologically, you need to create respect for the dollar, not because it means anything, not because it means oh my God, this is so valuable and so precious. No, I actually, if you knew anything about me, I think the dollars is trash, and that's a whole different separate topic. But the thing about it is you need to respect energy or you need to respect money so that it can respect you back. And what I mean by that is every dollar needs to have some type of location, whether that's for luxury, whether that's for investing, everything. Adan touched it so beautifully. I don't need to jump into it, but have an understanding that money is energy and you need to control it. If not, it will control you. And what I mean by that is you'll get into debt and you'll have your whole life trying to pay back this debt, and you'll live your entire lives working to go back to net zero, right? If you go in debt, you will eventually just be working your entire life just to get back to break even. And one thing that I encourage you is live based off of the income that you have, not based on the lifestyle that you want. If you want a lifestyle and you don't have the income for it, you need to increase your means by increasing your income, right? So it's not about saving every dollar so you can live lavishly. Oh, I have all this money. It's about increasing your income, protecting your income, and that goes into different kind of ways. One thing that I want to talk about, Adan, and I would love to hear your perspective is because I'm in the finance industry, like mentally, I'm not a banker or anything. But because I love it so much, I always get asked, Adrian, what should I invest into? Where do I put my money? And anytime I'm saying this to everybody watching, if you ever ask me that, one thing that I'm going to say is invest into yourself because the reality is if you invested into yourself, you wouldn't be asking me what to invest into. It doesn't serve you any purpose for me to tell you anything, because at that point it's like if the investment goes like this, your emotions are going to go like this with it, because you don't have an understanding of what you're investing into. You don't have a proper conviction in what you have. So don't ask me what to invest into. Invest into yourself, education, and understand things. That way you know what to invest to into, and you don't have to ask anybody else what to invest into. So that's a quick topic that I wanted to tap into, but I'll pass it over to you.
I think before I jump onto that, I do want to add one more thing about the budgeting and really preserving your money. And, it's not about being obsessed or in love with the money, but more so, what is going to be a way that you can save your time? To me, it always goes back to time, and it's exactly what you touched on. I just wanted to add, if you grow an emergency fund, if you grow an investment account, if you grow any type of investment and you have preserved capital, cash placed in a specific area, eventually you can get to a point where you're able to almost cover certain expenses, right? That way you can not have to work full time per se in the distant future, right? But more so spend time with family that matters, right? I think for us, at least the way we're obsessed with this process is to get back our time. We love to spend time with family. We love to spend, I love hanging out with you, bro, when we hang out. To me, it's just being able to use that money as a tool, as I mentioned previously, to really spend that quality time. I think is one of my favorite parts about it. Time, extreme.
Before you go into that, because I know you're going to jump into the other topic,
Mhm.
I want to emphasize something. Time is life, and money is choice, right? So we just want a life full of choices. And people think that you get obsessed about money, but the thing is, you're trading your time, which is life, for money. So in that equation, you're equaling life with money. So if you don't grow your money, you're not growing your life. And what I mean by that is you free the time. And people have connected money with luxuries as far as cars and clothing and stuff like that. When someone pursues money, they get the perception of that guy's that he doesn't have the right mentality of life. But the thing is, you need to separate that and understand that money is choice, and it creates options for you in life to do what you want. If you still want to work, now you can do it without a financial tie or obligation to whatever it is that you do, because you are already financially set. You've created options for yourself to do whatever you want. So I just want to add that piece, and I'll kick it right over to you to tap
I
into
love
it.
I love that. And then one more thing before we jump into your other topic. As I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest decisions I've ever made with my finances personally, personal experience, is I want to emphasize that, is staying at home with my parents until I moved out, until I decided to move out. I think that a lot of the times people will be like, oh, you're this age. Why are you still living with parents? And if they don't understand the reasoning behind what we're talking about, it's gonna just be brushed to the side, like what? But seriously, if you have the opportunity, I'm sure your parents, short like 20 to 22, 23, 24, I'm sure your parents would really enjoy having you at home prior to you moving out, because typically, you move out, more than likely you won't ever return unless it's just to visit. But I strongly recommend, if anybody has that opportunity to just still stay with parents, by all means, I support it, but really, really start focusing on that budgeting, because the second you move out or the second you go out on your own and then bills start coming in, I mean, short term, but within the last 6 months, I've been kind of realizing, right, the amount that I'm investing has decreased, right? So I think that's something that I do want to definitely include in here. And yeah.
I think
Uh,
that's important. I think to wrap it up, pretty much, I think this was a pretty good podcast. Um, One thing that I want to say is when you create this certain life that you're pursuing, I think you need to unlearn everything that you've learned and start from scratch. I think we're the thing with this is everybody has their own opinion about things. And the reality is, it's like most of the people that we know aren't where we want to be in life. So their advice should be irrelevant. And I mean that myself. Like this advice that I'm giving you, or quote unquote, it's not even advice. It's just my perception of life. And if this creates a belief challenge for you and gets you out there to start looking for your own beliefs and visions, well that's the point of the podcast, right? It's the point of opening up your eyes to a different world, to a different side of things, so that you can encourage you to go out there and do your own research and do your own understanding for everything, because everybody's going to have their opinion. And one thing that I want to say is leadership and life is a lonely road when you pursue this, right? So don't expect like daisies and roses, like I said before. But the thing is, it's like in order for you to live like the 2% in the world, you need to make 2%er decisions. So by default, that is eventually going to create you to be the exception. And for you, it's like think about the word exceptional. If you want to be exceptional, you're gonna have to be the exception, all right, out of everybody, because not everybody's going to agree with what you do. Not everybody agree. Bro, come on, just have fun. Come on, life is short. Come have a great time, have a weekend, which is phenomenal. Budget for it, understand your money, and create that kind of, education. One thing that I want to close out with is whatever you track grows. So ask yourself, are you tracking your money? If you go to the gym, you're going to track your calories, you're going to track your weight, you're going to track all of this to create muscle. Well, everyone has all of these gains physically, but who is working on their mentality? Who's working on their mindset? Who's working on their financial muscle? Who's working on their mind muscle, right? All of these things can be worked out. So create consistency, create good habits, and eventually, like I said before, those habits will eventually catapult and consistently create the results that you're looking for. But any closing thoughts?
I love that. I love that. Just to add, again, I feel like I really like to repeat it, is that we are in this as students. We will remain students. Uh, you know, I can't say it enough. We've learned just by speaking to you, bro. Every day, every time we're doing these podcasts, I something clicks in my head to just like get a different idea or learn this or learn that. And I'm very happy about this, man. I really, really enjoy these conversations. Like we've said previously, we already have these conversations. I just love that we're being very intentional with these now. Everything we speak, we've we can share some personal experiences from what we're speaking, right? We can, rewatch them and relearn, learn the way we're speaking and what we're saying. And, I'm really excited. There's lots to learn. There's lots to grow. Seeing you honestly speak through Zoom, bro, is very, very impressive to me. I really like that. Just the way that you break things down, it's very much clear. So that's something I'm working on as we speak. But anyways, I really enjoyed it. I love the early morning, some cup of coffee, Amazing
For
Spider-Man.
those of you that don't know, it's 7 a.m. right now. The reason why I got to cut the podcast short is because I got to head to prison right now for 8 hours. And then, hey, don't worry, I'll be back. Please, nobody get offended. That's my belief. Everybody, do you. And no, for sure, Alan, I always appreciate these conversations. I value them very much when we would be on phone calls, but I value them that much more. Not only for the education, but just the bonding that I get to have with you. I think it's very powerful, and I can't wait to tell my kids these stories about when we woke up and did these and just had these meaningful conversations with you. And I'm just very thankful. I thank God, and it's a blessing that I have such a great relationship with you. Because if anybody out there is having trouble with family or anything, I encourage you to, bridge the gap, ask God to help, and eventually, like, He'll help that happen. And at the end of the day, it's all about relationships, it's all about connections, it's all about love, peace, positivity, greatness. All of this stuff that we're talking about doesn't matter if we don't have love and peace and positivity. So I'd love to end it with that.
Love that, bro. Love that. Everyone have a great week.
Yes, sir. Escape prison. Michael Schofield.